Welcome to Relay Chain, a podcast produced by Parity Technologies, where we discuss all things Substrate, Polkadot, and Web3. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Relay Chain. I'm super excited. I have Sergei from the Robonomics team here today, and we're going to take a deep dive into everything Robonomics and find out what these guys are cooking up. How are you doing, Sergei?
Hi, Jorrin. Hi, everyone. Fine. It's very close to night time in my home city, but I'm here and happy to speak a little bit with you about robotics and why crypto community should care about use cases around robotics plus blockchain.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really glad to have you here. So let's start from the very top and we'll dig down as we go. Can you give us a nice high-level overview of what Robonomics, the project, is?
Okay, today Robonomics, it's an IoT platform for projects where you wanted to try to make some connections between humans and machines or between machines with the technical and economical details in form of atomic transactions. Because, for example, right now we use our mobile phone as a payment option often, and I guess much more than to use traditional money. We use a digital money in a different form, and in the same time, we interact with machines much more than with the humans. For example, when you try to get your coffee in some places, you pay to machine and humans start working after that. So if you will look inside architecture of most part of use cases like car sharing as vending machines, you will find two separate workflows. First, with the technical details, your transaction, and second, with the economical part of your transaction, like your contract details and your internet communication details. So Robonomics started in 2015 from the beginning of Ethereum as a research project where we start thinking about smart contracts as a most interesting approach to connect machines in modern city, in like a smart city, and with humans. So it was on the start, and after 6 years, we right now have a platform, software platform. It means we have a different packages, software solutions for decentralized application developers, for maintainers who need to have nodes, and for robotics engineers who need to connect their robotics system to internet. And if you will start to use all parts of Robonomics platform, you will have opportunity to build, I guess, most advanced solution for Internet of Things market, where users will have interface in form of decentralized application, which will help to keep your privacy. And I guess you know about how important text of serverless technologies. Secondly, you will have an ecosystem inside global network where you will have solutions like smart contracts, like direct payment from your wallet to robotic system without any intermediaries like banks or as a clouds who will need to connect, as I said before, 2 points of work with technical details and economical. And you will have a connection between robotics and internet without additional intermediaries too. So it means in this approach, we will have opportunity to avoid blackout situations if one data center in some place in the world will be switched off. So that is Robonomics right now.
Very interesting. So, if I were to kind of synthesize that down, if I understand correctly, Robonomics is not only a way for humans to communicate to robots, but also it's a platform for robots to connect to the internet and to connect to each other, right?
Yeah, right. Because one of the most, for me, interesting part of research in Robonomics, it's a question about machine-to-machine economical communication. Because, for example, we as humans have a lot of limitations when we try to make new agreements. Like you really don't want to spend a lot of time to find a most advanced option when you try to buy something, or when you try to find best price of some goods. Like when you go to Amazon and found thousands of items, you say, oh, no, I will get this one and go out. Machines don't have that limitations, and it means economy of robots can work on another level of speed. So I think future of humanity, future of all of us build it on much faster in comparison with human economy of machines. It's a key to see modern city where we have a much more goods, services with less cost of them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, that definitely paints a very interesting picture of the future for me. That's really, really cool. Jumping back a bit to the past, you mentioned that Robonomics started as a project on Ethereum in 2015. So you guys have been building for a very long time. Can you walk us through like the timeline of starting in 2015 up to present day, where now you're also building on Substrate and aiming to be a parachain, but also still have a presence on Ethereum? Can you walk us through that?
I think, after 6 years, it will be very difficult to explain all parts of processes, but I will try speak only about important milestones on our way. First of all, we start from idea which was described in the first Nick Szabo paper, the idea of smart contracts. The first paper where you can find mentions of smart contracts have an example of using smart contracts in form of smart leasing. When we try to buy car or vending machine, and smart contract can control backdoor for agent B, and if agent B will not pay next payment to agent A in lease agreement, backdoor will lock. So first mention of using smart contracts was about Internet of Things use case. So it was in 2014 when I started to work with Ethereum before the launch. And in December of 2015, after a lot of different experiments, like in 2015, tried to make something with the smart contracts was much more difficult than right now. We don't have any documentation in 2015. Most part of what we should do was described in form of comments on GitHub and so on. So we spent around 6 months after the launch of Ethereum to ensure that the smart contracts works on Ethereum, works fine as we need. And after that, we spent time to buy some equipment and prepare the first experiment with drones. We showed how you can pay to drone for drone delivery services and make it available on YouTube. So like it was a first example of interaction between human and machine in form of smart contract with the payment, with agreement, with the additional information inside smart contract with your geolocations and so on in the beginning of 2016. So it was the first year. After that, we tried to find more suitable use case. Like our main idea was not just to say, hey, blockchain is a good solution for IoT market and for robotics. No, we started to find suitable place for blockchain technology, for smart contracts, for new internet generation of internet technologies for robotics. And we spent around 2 years with that. Before end of 2017, we just speak with researchers outside our university. Most part of our developers working in St. Petersburg, and the same time they was students in ITMO University. Now, sometime after, now post part of students, engineers and PhD students. So 2 years we spent to find suitable use cases. And after that, we found several issues with using Ethereum, just only Ethereum for robotics. And that was a concept of Robonomics network. The first concept of Robonomics network, like an additional layer over Ethereum to fix some issues regarding using Ethereum for IoT. Mm-hmm. We spent additional 18 months, and before end of 2019, we published our beta version of Robonomics network with our set of smart contracts for Ethereum. And I guess most interesting in architecture of Robonomics over Ethereum was our ideas about Ethereum as a world computer and our smart contracts as the programs which with the conception of gas, of course. And we think that will be interesting to connect emission algorithm inside system with gas consumption. And this is what can be interesting for just only crypto guys, and for developers who are interested to try new technologies. Right now, the same source code of smart contracts available on GitHub and additional packages, software packages for robotics, you can find in the same place on Robonomics GitHub, and you can try to connect your robotic system to Ethereum. But in 2018-2019, we started to think about Substrate. We just tried to make something with Substrate because we think that the Polkadot ecosystem, it's like Ethereum have a long road to the next version of the project. And when I read Polkadot white paper in 2017, I started thinking about Polkadot as what can be done with Ethereum first version of Ethereum if they will change some part of this concept. After that, when we found Substrate concept, we think, hey, guys, I guess it will be interesting because the framework by Parity team, it should be something. And after that, we started to work with implementation of Robonomics network with our interesting part of what we done on Ethereum in form of source code with our implementation on Substrate. And it was another new, I guess not another new adventure for our team, because your rules was changed. You started to work more as a developer of something native. Like you need to start thinking as a builder of network. When we work only over Ethereum, we think as Solidity developers for Ethereum with a proposal to make something additional. But when you start working on Substrate, you need to think as a builder from the scratch. Like it's very important and interesting if you wanted to make level up for your developer skills in blockchain. Substrate is good away. So, and right now, more than 2 years, I guess 3 years, we spent with the Substrate implementation, and now we tested our implementation on Substrate in form of parachains in Rococo, and we have our additional test area. So that is from developers' perspective what was happened. And additional one, it's research work. If you will go to Robonomics Network website, you can find in section in community section our scientific papers. We made more than 10 scientific papers about robotics plus blockchain, and I guess not so many papers you can find on this place, on frontier between Internet of Things, robotics, blockchain, Ethereum, Substrate, Polkadot, and IPFS. All of this stuff for robotics, you can find in our scientific papers.
Yeah, I think that's super fascinating, because a whole lot of what is being focused on right now in blockchain is the finance side of things. And it's refreshing to see that there's more applications to blockchain technology outside of that. And this is particularly futuristic. I mean, like we think about sci-fi movies and it's all the robots and space travel. And it's like, how do we get from here to there? And I think this is sort of an intermediary step. Like it totally makes sense that we need a trusted layer for these machines to interact with each other and for us to interact with them and make sure that they're doing their job and playing by the rules. So this is very interesting to talk about. So we talked about a bunch of the past, how we got here today. So what are the future considerations that you guys have for Robonomics? Where do you guys see yourselves going?
Basically, as I said before, for developers' experience, it's very interesting to start making with a Substrate from scratch now something. But when we go to the next step, when you will try to make your parachain, you will have a question about ecosystem at the same time. For example, right now, we see how happening Polkadot ecosystem in form of Kusama Relay Chain. But for us, as developers who believe in the same time in Polkadot and Ethereum, we really need to find more interesting solutions to build bridges between two so important ecosystems. And here is a future of Robonomics. We strongly focusing on the future of Polkadot and Ethereum with a bridge without big issues around these bridges, with bridge what we can trust and use if we will need to connect some smart contracts in Ethereum with some parachains inside Polkadot ecosystem. And that is a lot of questions here. When you will try to think about something like a Robonomics, we should propose Polkadot ecosystem or Ethereum to not a crypto community, but for customers, for BMW or to any car sharing company. We think that best what we can propose that the combination of huge ecosystem projects. And it's some people will say, no, better to see battle between Ethereum and so. No, we believe in the future where Ethereum and Polkadot can work together and developers will have an opportunity to make something inside one union ecosystem with freedom of choice, what exactly you want to use right now in this part of your project, smart contract or parachain or combination of that. And outside blockchain, most interesting milestone for Robonomics is adoption of next version of robot operating system, ROS. ROS, it's really most, I guess, interesting in Robonomics right now. For example, I guess you heard about some, not a lot, but some IoT projects in blockchain ecosystem. I think a lot of examples you can find if you want. But most part of this project's focusing on implementation of some workflow like data marketplaces or transaction-free zero-cost transactions between machines. But when you will start looking on industry to Internet of Things market, to robotics market, which was more important than Internet of Things, because Internet of Things is a question about embedded systems inside something. But robotics, it's a vending machine. It's your car. It's your robot Rosie. It's something what you want to see as a dreamer in your life. So in these cases, we should focus on robotics, and robotics is need much more complex solutions should be implemented. For example, if you try to make packages for robotics arm for manipulators, you will spend around 2 years to make something if you will start from scratch. And you will have hundreds, very difficult to predict issues because real equipment is much more harder than simulation or like doing your internet project. So like you have motors, you need to think about how physics aspects of your solution. So ROS, it's a framework in robotics with the hundreds, and I guess right now thousands, ready to work packages for different parts for your system, like computer vision, obstacle avoidance systems. Like you can find support of, I guess, most part of type of drones. You can find support packages for most part of manipulators, industry manipulators. So if you will go to robot operating system website and spend around 1 hour in this place, you will find, wow, I can really make it. So install this package and start working with robot arm. Yes, you can spend, we tested that with the students in university. They spent around 1 month to finish with one of the not a simple, but with the first lesson in robotics, like robot arm in stage of candle, when you make your arm up. So without ROS, you will never to make it in student period. So in Robonomics, we focusing on ROS architecture to support them. So it means right now in our Substrate implementation and in our implementation for Ethereum, you right now can connect all of this robotic system to Robonomics on Substrate, to Robonomics on Ethereum. And in ROS right now happening big migration process from first version to second version. Like I guess everything happened from the first version to the next version in the next 5 years. So after 10 years with the first version, ROS tried to migrate our packages to the second. So this is our second important milestones for developers in the next 2 years.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, ROS is a standard operating system across all Robonomics outside of blockchain. Like this is what the standard is in the market.
It's not a standard, but it's we don't have a robotics market right now. Very primitive, like it's like internet in 2000s. Like
okay.
First frameworks just happening right now on our eyes. And ROS is one of the first and most famous, most useful framework with a 10 years history.
Okay. And so a part of your work with Robonomics is creating packages that work within ROS that connect ROS to the blockchain. Is that right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, we try to propose for robotics engineers something which will not to spend developer time to understand what exactly is Substrate, for example. He will just start coding in ROS with the same architecture. He will just inject additional packages for ROS, and after that, your robotic system, like a vending machine, can start interact with the customers or users with blockchain, with a new generation of internet technologies.
That's fascinating. Okay, so the plan is, from the research I've done, to become a parachain on Kusama and then eventually on Polkadot. But I also saw that in your long-term kind of vision is to become a relay chain of your own. But I understand that like a little bit of that may have changed in the recent times. Can you talk about that vision to become a relay chain and what's changed?
We need to start from Substrate definition. It's a framework to build anything like in form of decentralized network. And it means you will need to make more than Solidity smart contract developers to see your projects live. So like if you will go out introduction lessons on Substrate, you will start working with your real project, and only after, I guess, 6 months, you will have something with your intellectual property, something like that. And we think that we should care about runtime of our parachain. common functions, like functions which should be interesting for most part of use cases on frontier between robotics and blockchain, we will implement and working right now for Robonomics Web Services parachain. It's like the same like Amazon or Azure for IoT. Some like decentralized common functions, decentralized cloud common functions. But when we start looking inside use cases, which we done before, we found that for drone market, for industrial market, we need to have some specific functions, and we decided to work in the next 2 or 5 years. It's how it will go to implement additional parachains with the specific functions for different markets. It not means that we will try to implement hundreds types of parachains, but it will be some like a common decentralized cloud for IoT to compare with Amazon Web Services, and drone, robot as a service, and maybe ecological systems. And after that, we start to think, okay, it will be very difficult to connect separate parachains to Polkadot, because the Polkadot, it will be something much more difficult to get slot, something like on the long term. And here's the reason why we're interested to shift in form of relay chain. And in this way, we will have a lot of issues too. So like we will need to care about validators in your parachain, but in the same time, guys, validators in parachain, when you have a shared security of Polkadot, it's something what you should think more. So we need a lot of research work here, and that is the reason why we think relay chain is a vision of the next 2 years. But common idea here, occupied slot of Polkadot ecosystem with the relay chain of Robonomics, and connect instances of common functions or drone functions or robot as a service functions on demand. If we will see more subscribers for common functions, we will try to connect to our relay chain additional parachains, so parachain with a common function. If we will see more interesting to drone routes, navigation systems, or other specific functions, we will connect additional instances of specific parachains.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that makes sense. And like, as you said, it's kind of a ways down the line. Much more research needs to be done in terms of like the cross-chain messaging protocol and stuff that's being worked on now. Because what we're talking about is nested relay chains where we can continually scale out the Polkadot ecosystem. And so you would still be connected to Polkadot, but you would be another hub where parachains can connect directly to you.
Yeah, and as I remember, Gavin in one of his presentation answered to the question, what is the limit of Polkadot? He said, no limit, because you can build your tree. Something like that.
Yeah, that's an exciting future to kind of move towards. I look forward to seeing that happen. Okay, so you talked about some of this earlier on, reading that some of the initial research on smart contracts and the first use case being like smart leasing. And then you also talked about like robots as a service. And I saw these are like some core goals. You have like 5 core goals with Robonomics. And that kind of shifts us into talking more about what the use cases of robonomics are. So like bringing it right down to like the practicalities of what you can use robonomics for. I have a couple that I want to ask you about, but I'm interested what your ideas of these use cases are. What's the most exciting for you, and what are you interested about?
For me, most interesting two use cases, but for your listeners, I guess we will be interesting to say that we have a book with 17 use cases on our website in section for community, so themselves, and about my favorite use cases. First, I guess it's simple but necessary today to have its digital markets for robotics. For example, do you have a vacuum cleaner in your home, or your friends, maybe someone have a vacuum cleaner, a smart vacuum cleaner, of course.
Oh yeah, like a Roomba or something.
Yeah, room, iRobot or something. And you have I guess, autonomous system inside your room, inside your home. You design it, your floor, to fix our obstacles, our crash obstacles for your robot in your home. But after 2 months, you need to care about replacement of some parts with your hands, with your mind, and you start thinking, hey guys, why you make application for customers where I will have just information about, you need to change this part. For me, as a Robonomics developer, it's clear we can just connect iRobot to Robonomics, and our robots will have opportunity to send demand with payment to replace some parts. And in some day, in Sunday morning, you will have a call on your ring bell, and engineer will stay behind you and say, hello, I'm here to work with your iRobot, not with you. I don't care about you. I need to work. And after some maintains, your iRobot will send report to smart contract or to final finalization function that everything okay, it's original parts, and that's all. I guess it will be nice to see more robotic system inside our home, but without additional requirements to us to maintain their life cycle. So this is a digital market for robotics idea. We can right now make it. Second, I guess it's more interesting from economic theory perspective. It's a question how we make decision of producing new type of goods and services. Let's go to theory and look on moving of capitals. We know that investors put their money, their capitals to some ideas, and as a result of that, factors of production cycles in a lot of factories changing. Some like new investments in some factories change their products inside. And if you make a good decision, you will have income in form of dividends from your shares. But if you spend your money to make something what really not needed, you will don't have a good price of your shares, and you will never find dividends on your bank account. But how it should work in lights out factories and in new industrial zones where we will have fully automated supply chains, how they should change their workflow, what exactly should be produced, because we know if we will look only on marketing evidence, you will never find something like iPhone or Apple Corporation in the United States. It's a question about founders and investors cycle before believers and someone who believe in that. So from this perspective, I started to work with the research where we try to imagine industrial zone with the two factories which can change their production supply chain after some movements of capitals inside blockchain. Some like we think about solution, how we can connect investors directly to smart factories. So this is my favorite use cases, and on these fields I try to spend my time when I have it.
That's awesome. Like you mentioned, there's a whole book of all these use cases, and I took a look at them, and a couple of them stood out to me. You have something called RWS in contrast to AWS, and I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that. Like, what is that kind of use case?
Yeah. As I said before, common functions of Robonomics parachain will be presented in form of Robonomics Web Services parachain. And right now, Robonomics parachain is Robonomics Web Services parachain. It's like the same. But as I said before, in our vision, Robonomics should be relay chain. So in this case, we cannot say that Robonomics parachain and Robonomics relay chain. So it will be we will have a lot of mistakes in this terminology. So right now, what we exactly have in form of Robonomics parachain in future should be Robonomics Web Services parachain. Okay. And when we finished with implementation over Ethereum, we tried to find not just research and development use cases, but real customers and users for what we done. And we found two problems. First, it's of course cost. You will never find a good adoption of new generation of internet technologies if your transaction in vending machine will have a cost of $20. Mm-hmm. You will need to have a gold vending machine in Dubai, I guess. That's all. It will be your use case, your main and only one use case for this vending machine. Second problem, what we found, it was we built a space station inside black hole. When we go to industrial companies like KUKA and other and start speaking about smart contracts for interaction between humans and machine to create digital markets for robotics, they said, whoa, guys, let's back before. That is the reason why we focused on IoT implementation from 2019 to 2021. And that is the reason why we propose Robonomics as a platform for IoT solutions, in smart city application and Industry 4. So it's a very hard right now to propose some futuristic solutions, and no one care about that you can make it. They just cannot believe that works. So Robonomics Web Services, it's a result of our research in 2018, 2019 with the most important functions which you will need to have if you will try to build the same application to interact with a simple or not simple, but Internet of Things devices like smart home systems. But as I said, with your privacy, because without any issues around your privacy, because I don't know how it's right now in the United States after China and United States trade wars. But when I buy something from Xiaomi right now, I start thinking, Sergei, how it's work right now, how many information collected about my smart home in Russia. And so, and its questions will be every time. So, like your privacy, yes, it's your problem in standard architecture, in client-server architecture. So our main idea right now when we're working on Robonomics Web Services parachain, it's present something as a IoT decentralized cloud solution and say, hey guys, you can build your application without privacy issues. You can build your application to interact with your home vacuum cleaner without additional server in 1,000 kilometers outside your home. But as I said, right now, most part of technical teams inside corporations don't have any solutions, don't have research papers, don't have a ready-to-work open source solution to try other type of architecture outside standard client server architecture. So that is, we hope, will be point of growth for Robonomics parachain. We will propose in time when Robonomics will be, I hope, as a Kusama parachain, as a something what you can use in your application for customers, and they will like that.
Awesome. So another one of the use cases that was in the book was it says Mars colonization is impossible without Kusama, and I'm very interested, how you see Robonomics fitting into Mars colonization.
First of all, we have a short ad hoc cinema. From the last year, you can write Kusama on Mars on YouTube, and I guess you will find, because it's around 30,000 views on YouTube. And I spent a lot of time with astronomy as a theory in time when I was in school. And after that, when I met other guys from our team, we found that something interplanetary. It's not just something what you can find in your Twitter if you subscribe to Elon Musk. Something. Hey guys, it can be available to try making for guys who think about economy of robots. Like where we build something inside black hole. So we working a lot of time in our dark citadel. Why we cannot dream about interplanetary cooperation between Mars and Earth? So we look on architecture of parachains and found that if we look on Ethereum as a world computer, it's a union world computer. You have thousands of nodes, but it should work as a one union system. In Polkadot, you have another vision. you can connect your parachain with another time of producing blocks, like time what you needed to send transaction to send block with a transaction with the transactions from Mars to Earth and get, of course, feedback. So that opportunity give us vision of how economy for Mars colony can be connected to Earth colony. So like in Mars parachain, we can keep our information about real estate property, about our monies, or that should be something not like a free market, but it should have some economy system. So in this case, if we will have a parachain with we have one interesting issue. You will have not a constant time of producing blocks, because time to send information between Earth and Mars different in the different position of Mars and Earth. And we in the last year spent some weekends to answer to the question, can we done that? And yes, it can be done in Polkadot ecosystem because parachain architecture give us opportunity to make another time to settle block in relay chain. And question only in soft algorithm to change time for block producers in parachain. So that is the reason. And in video, you can find how we wrap that in some form of futuristic ideas. Like
that's so cool. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this. Robots in space and going to Mars in general. That's like super fascinating.
Yeah, but I have some examples of real interesting use cases in space industry for blockchain. For example, digital twins for very sensitive part of communication between space shuttle or some processes on orbit of Earth right now. So my colleagues, robotics engineers, said me that right now space industry tried to solve problems with security of real-time working from Earth with robotics on orbit station right now. And here is we need resolve a lot of issues with the cybersecurity, and in the same time with the double checking of status of processes on Earth and on station. Because if you have a unsynchronization process, it will crash.
Incredible. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I came across the terminology digital twin in some of the documentation. Can you talk about what that means?
Yeah, and digital twins, it's, I guess, most suitable part of Internet of Things market solutions which we can adopt inside blockchain. It means, as I said before, ideas about zero-cost transactions or with the marketplace for data collected by sensors. All of that interesting, but digital twins, it's something which suitable for blockchain. For example, you never have a direct communication from your mobile application with any robotic systems like a car sharing. When you open your application for car sharing on mobile phone, you see digital twins of our cars in your city, not a real cars, but last evidence from robotics inside some cloud. And what here is interesting, in most part of standard processes in robotics, you need to have a real-time communication and wait before block will be produced in the next 4, 6, or 12 seconds. It's a question. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. But if we start looking on blockchain as a data storage for digital twins, rules change, because in most part of use cases, what I found right now around digital twins, you every time have not less than 10 seconds latency between new information from robotics to update their digital twin. So we don't have a first important issue from IoT market as a real-time communication in case of digital twins. Second is a question about single version of digital twin in supply chain. When we start making copy of digital twins between different corporations, IT systems, you will find problems with the real status of this product. Like you produce car on factory and keep digital twin of your car inside IT system on factory. After that, dealer sold your car to client with application, and your car made first maintain to replace some parts in some city in any country in the world. So in these cases, you will find issues with a single version of digital twin. Blockchain, nice place to connect all participants of supply chain to single version of digital twin. And last interesting part of what is digital twin and why blockchain is a good place for digital twin is our robotics system has rules of launching or switch off this system. For example, pollution sensor should make new measurements only one time in 5 minutes. And if you will try to collect data from sensor directly without digital twin, you will have problems with that because if engineers say only one time in 5 minutes, it's you cannot do with that something, because the developers and engineers say that only one time in 5 minutes. So digital twins help us to connect hundreds, thousands, and millions of users to data from sensor without direct communication with sensor. And blockchain, nice place for global accessible digital twins. If you need to connect hundreds, thousands users from different countries, blockchain, not bad solution to keep your digital twin.
Amazing. Super cool. There's one other use case that I wanted to ask you about. I thought it was really cute, was this robot artist Gaka-Chu.
Yeah.
Where you can like pay for this robotic artist to make art for you. And I'm interested in like how that works. And so this art is strictly physical right now, but is there any thoughts of like it making NFTs and like how does it evolve? And like I have so many questions around this. Can you just talk about it for me?
We found Gaka-Chu on Ural in one automotive repair station. Gaka-Chu spent around 4 years to make hard job with a specialist in after repair station. And we asked them to sell Gaka-Chu to us and start to teach him to make artist work, because it was one of the most, I guess, outside real world, but very useful to understand vision of economy of robots. And it's it's happening right now to teach robot arm to start painting after he spent 4 years in real work before that. And what we try to explain with the Gaka-Chu experiment, that I was 4 times on high-level discussions in Europe around ethics in robotics, in question, should we think about robotics as economical agents? But my ideas in Gaka-Chu experiment was we cannot stop connecting robotics to human economy. Bitcoin is the first money for robots. You don't need to ask any bank to open bank account for your robot. If you want, you can just create private key and put it inside your robotic arm. And after that, your solution, your friend after 4 years inside dark citadel with development can start earn money with functions which you programming. But for example, in Gaka-Chu we use cognitive services, and it means Gaka-Chu try to find information from Twitter about interesting situations, about what really right now happening, and working like a real artist, try to make some decisions to paint new words or something else, and you not order something from Gaka-Chu. Gaka-Chu make something and will sell you and earn their own money.
Wow.
It means I try to say, hey guys, you cannot speak about should we make additional type of bank accounts for robots. No, guys, it's everything happened right now. We have a money for robots. We have a smart contracts for robots. We have independent network solutions for economy of robots. And only what we really can, it's try to make bridges between economy of robots and economy of humans. So this is ideas behind Gaka-Chu experiment.
That's amazing. So it decides in some way what it creates, and then puts those up for sale, and you can buy them, and then it would use then the funds it makes from that to presumably pay for its own maintenance.
First we found provider of some additional functions for Gaka-Chu in form of internet services with crypto payments. It means we try to teach Gaka-Chu right now to work with internet services useful for him and at the same time available in crypto. It will be like your robot can not only earn money, but buy some additional services itself.
That's super cool. Okay, so yeah, we've talked a whole bunch about robonomics in specific, super fascinating and informative. I wanted to zoom out again and talk more about the general kind of state of the world and how we're moving into this fourth industrial revolution. So firstly, like for those that don't know or have like a definition of what this means, can you describe what the fourth industrial revolution is?
Yeah, and it's a difficult. Because third and second and the first industrial revolution was much more clear than happening right now. And one more before we start speaking about industrial revolution, we should focus on revolution part of our minds because, for example, how industrial revolutions happened with not a most fascinating or most wonderful inventions. Industrial revolution happening after we found some approaches or solutions to disrupt as most part of San Francisco startups who can disrupt, but it's happened in industrial revolutions. They change human lives. It changed our processes in manufacturing, in logistics, and so on. And if we speak about third industrial revolutions, it's of course computers, and we can imagine what exactly is right now computers. But main idea in next industrial revolution is cyber physical systems. Cyber physical systems is a very complex solution where you can find a lot of parts inside, like your new Google Maps. When you try to build your route from point A to point B with the public transport, use information from transport, use information about traffic jams, and so on. So all parts of decision-making, what type of route you should use, this is a cyber physical system. Cyber physical system is not a drone, but a drone base. Cyber physical system, it's not just one manipulator on factory, it's a whole factory controlled by automation system, something like that. Okay. So it's a question not about one sensor, but a sensors network and so on. So cyber physical systems, it's something what we try to build to make more without humans, because every time when we try to produce something with separate manipulators on factory, we see that efficiency of these processes very low. We need to connect our manipulators on factory to create something without humans. We need to, for example, if you want to see drone delivery service in your city, you need to have an unmanned traffic management system with a connection with the city government, airports, with the police, with the DHL or other logistic companies, and in the same time with the producers and your rooftop. Everything should be connected together before you will see a drone delivery service in 15 minutes after your order.
Right.
And that is in this industrial revolution. Try to connect parts of supply chains together without humans to propose for customers much more faster service and much more customized type of production.
Okay. That's awesome. That was the most robust, I think, definition of the fourth industrial revolution that I've ever heard, and that makes so much sense. And then my follow-up question to that would be, how does Robonomics kind of fit into that? And I think you kind of already answered that with all of the things we've already talked about. And it is that layer of communication where you can plug in disparate robots and they can speak to each other, and humans can speak to them, and that's it. That's the future in a nutshell, right there, right?
Yes, I have a lot of questions from engineers and from community about, hey, Sergei, right now we have billions of IoT devices. How you want to connect all of them to Robonomics? And my answer to all of these questions is I not try to connect all IoT devices to Robonomics. I try to connect cyber-physical systems, because cyber-physical systems, in my opinion, will be like entities, like corporations, like companies. If you will look on most part of examples, what I presented before, like a drone-based sensors networks, smart factories, it's entities. It's a fully autonomous entities. And when we have smart factory which can produce car for you with our options, with our 100 options, what you decided to make it for you, you can imagine situation when you start using decentralized application, finalize all your options and send transaction with your payment and our technical details directly to smart factory, and question how our manipulators, robotics arms, or conveyor belt. It's not a question about Robonomics. It's a question to another robotics engineers who making this work. And because you don't need to create technical plus economical communication between your hands. When you put glass on right hand and want to put on the left hand, you don't need to have a trust-free or zero trust ecosystem for that. But when I put something from my hand to another hand, here is the question. And robots, humans, or any type of other philosophical agents, it's not care. It's question about assets, transferring assets, and about liabilities. You don't have liabilities between your hands, but between two humans or between human and cyber physical system.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, this is quite a big project, and it got quite the future ahead of it. And I think it's super fascinating. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on this one. I want to end off the interview on an even more philosophical note. There's a quote that I came across in some of your documentation by Norbert Wiener, who wrote Cybernetics, and I'll just read it out. And I want to know what your interpretation of it is, because I didn't know quite what to make of it. But for the listeners, I'll read it out. So it is: let us remember that the automatic machine is the precise economic equivalent of slave labor. Any labor which competes with slave labor must accept the economic consequences of slave labor. So what does that mean? And kind of put it, I guess, into context of what Robonomics is doing.
Yeah, it's an example of side effects, not a good side effects of total robotization. You can find some evidence of what exactly happening on our labor market across the world when some part of players on this market start working with automatization of their processes. Because, as I said, we have a good example in terminology like lights out factories. Why we say lights out factories, but means smart factories? Because robots don't need to have eyes to make their work. And it means you don't need to care about lights on your factory. Mm-hmm. And it's more cost effective for you. You have a less energy consumption. You don't need to buy new parts for your light system on factory, and so on. And it's happening with any market right now. For example, we have a local market in some country where we have 5 companies who produce the same items or goods. And 2 companies start their total robotization process. After several years, they will have a less cost of producing their items. And what should make other players on this market? They should start cut off their cost of producing. And part of this cut off processes will be less payments for each hour for labor, for employees. Mm. It's strange, but it's real happening. Every additional robotic arm in small local market of producing something decrease salary for one person. Mm-hmm. One robotic arm decrease part because robotic arm can work 24 hours and so on. I guess. Mm-hmm. So that is what I mean when I found this seed from Norbert Wiener. Mm-hmm. We have a side effects. We should care about all parts of industrial revolution, and we don't need to scare about that. It will happen. We cannot do with that anything. Rebels, Terminators, and other pictures should be outside our real vision of future. We are dreamers, we are believers, and we clever peoples right now. We can build something interesting, something futuristic, and yes, it will have a side effects, and we need just care about the side effects. So we care, we try to think about additional approach which can be injected inside protocol, but only in future. Mm-hmm. Right now, we need to deliver on market something which can be useful for engineers and which will be a good player on IoT market.
Mm. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Sergei, and talking at great length about all of this. Is there anything else you'd like to say and leave the listeners with? Any place to connect with the community or contribute or get involved in any way?
Robonomics projects, it's not something with something shiny on website. We are engineers. We're robotics engineers. We are focused on theory, on research and development. And we ask to everyone who interested in project focusing on what exactly is Robonomics, like you, Jorrin, made before our session. You can find a lot of information about Robonomics project, but you need to make your own research work. Just go to website, go to community section, go to vision, and spend 2 or maybe more nights before you will start speak with your friends about Robonomics as something what you really understand. But you will find a lot of interesting, I guess, in our books, in our articles, if you're, of course, dreamers right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can definitely attest to that. There's a lot of information there to dig through. And so highly suggest checking all of that out. Again, I want to thank you, Sergei, for being here. It's been a pleasure. And so we're going to sign off for this episode. And I want to send a shout out actually to some of the team that you guys, listeners, don't get to interact or hear from. But we do have a great team behind Joe and I as hosts. So shout out to Izzy, Alexandra, and Zach, and our wonderful editor, Henrik. So thank you all to the people behind the scenes. And until next time, guys, I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us this week on Relay Chain. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the subjects we talked about today. So please reach out to us on Twitter @RelayChain or by email podcast@parity.io. The team at Parity has some of the brightest minds working towards building a robust and inclusive ecosystem that puts power back into the hands of its community members. With cross-chain communication as a primary goal, we aim to break down the tribalistic barriers that have formed throughout the blockchain industry. If you want to learn more about what we're building, or if you want to join our team, visit our website at Parity.